Mr. Phantom planted the base of Godric's staff firmly against the stone floor of the tumbling temple. The orange crystal crowning the ancient relic pulsed once, twice. Then a swirling ring of golden-orange energy blossomed into existence before the Vault Hunters. The portal crackled softly, its edges shimmering like liquid sunlight. Cliff looked at it and sighed. I don't think I'll ever get used to these. Suidas grinned. You almost drowned on lily pads. I think the portal is the safer option. Without another word, the three Vault Hunters stepped through. The familiar sensation of weightlessness washed over them. The world blurred into streaks of orange light before reality snapped back into place beneath their feet. They emerged just outside a modest settlement enclosed by a sturdy wooden palisade. A cool mountain breeze drifted through the valley, carrying with it the scent of fresh-cut timber, coal dust, and damp earth. Before them stood a weathered watchtower overlooking the entrance to the village. Hanging from its side was a carved wooden sign that simply read, Misthall. The gates stood open. The Vault Hunters entered cautiously. Misthall village was considerably smaller than Meadowview, but it possessed a rugged charm all its own. Most of the buildings had been constructed from rough-hewn timber, their foundations stained black from years of coal dust drifting from the nearby mine. The heart of the village opened into a broad square where the entrance to the mine descended into darkness beneath a heavy wooden framework. Miners carrying pickaxes and lanterns wandered to and from the entrance, while carts loaded with ore rattled across the dirt roads. Around the square stood a handful of businesses. A potion shop displayed a painted sign reading Potions and Pyrolite, its windows glowing faintly with colourful mixtures. Nearby stood Gracie's Fortune, a quaint little shop decorated with hanging charms, crystal wind chimes, and strings of dried herbs swaying gently in the breeze. Across from it sat Majestic Novels, its front window stacked with weathered books and scrolls. A small chapel overlooked the village square, while an inn and tavern bustled with tired miners finishing the morning's work. Suidas found herself staring at one building in particular, Gracie's Fortune. After everything they had been through, the dreams, the relics, the demons, the visions, perhaps having someone glimpse the future wouldn't be the worst idea. She started toward the shop before Cliff's voice stopped her. So, he said with a crooked grin, you still taking trophies from your kills? Suidas looked over her shoulder, unable to hide a small laugh. And if I do? Cliff raised both hands innocently. Hey, I'm not judging. He leaned closer with a smirk. I just hope my head doesn't end up on your shelf if I steal the last drink one day. Mr. Phantom folded his arms beneath his cloak. I'd be more concerned if she said she wasn't collecting them. Suidas smiled mischievously. Smart, man. The three shared a brief laugh. For a few precious moments, they weren't chasing relics. They weren't fighting Hyperius. They weren't staring down ancient evils. They were simply three friends standing together in a quiet mining village, enjoying a rare moment of peace before whatever awaited them next. Cliff looked around the village square before stopping in front of Gracie's Fortune. As tempting as having someone peer into the future sounded, he rubbed the back of his neck and looked over at the others. As much as I'd love to know if I'm going to die old or drunk, he said, we should probably restock on potions first. Mr. Phantom nodded immediately. I'd rather be prepared than curious. Suidas glanced one last time at the fortune-teller's shop before shrugging. Fair enough, we can always come back. The trio crossed the village square toward the brightly decorated potion shop. Potions and Pyrolite stood out from every other building in Misthall village. Its wooden exterior was almost completely hidden beneath colourful flowers and climbing vines. Hanging above the doorway was a beautifully painted wooden sign depicting a glowing potion bottle, radiating soft light in every direction. The moment the Vault Hunters stepped inside, a rich earthy aroma filled their lungs. Dry herbs, fresh flowers, strange spices, medicinal roots. The interior was dimly lit by softly glowing lanterns nestled between hanging plants. Vines draped from the ceiling while bundles of herbs hung, drying beside shelves overflowing with bottles, powders, mushrooms, crystals, and ingredients. The trio couldn't even begin to identify. Behind the counter stood a short dwarf with pale skin and sleepy purple eyes. His long hair repeatedly fell across his face as he painstakingly measured an impossibly fine powder onto a tiny brass scale. Without looking up completely, he lazily waved. Free samples. Whether he was offering them or simply mumbling to himself remained a mystery. Cliff's ears perked up. Did he say free samples? Before either of his companions could stop him, Cliff had already reached the counter. I volunteer. The dwarf slid a tiny glass vial across the counter. Cliff shrugged. Bottoms up. He swallowed the strange mixture. Nothing happened. For exactly 2 seconds. Then, pop! Cliff suddenly shrank until he stood no taller than a teacup. His clothes, weapons, and hat all shrank perfectly with him. The tiny hunter stared up at the now gigantic room. Well, his tiny voice sounded no louder than the buzzing of an insect. What the he? To Suidas and Mr. Phantom, it sounded more like psss. Suidas blinked. Is he talking? Mr. Phantom leaned closer. I think so. Cliff frantically waved his tiny arms. Psss. The dwarf finally looked up from his scale. He frowned. He scratched his beard thoughtfully. Okay, that mix is a little off. Suidas burst into laughter. Mr. Phantom tried desperately not to. Cliff continued angrily buzzing from the countertop while pointing threateningly at the dwarf with his miniature revolver. After several long minutes, pop! Cliff instantly returned to normal size. He stumbled backward, caught himself against a shelf, and immediately pointed an accusing finger at the shopkeeper. If you ever give me another drink like that, he took a deep breath, I will personally mail you to Hyperious's front door. The dwarf blinked sleepily. Understandable. Suidas had to turn away. Her shoulders shook with laughter. Even Mr. Phantom couldn't keep a straight face anymore. Once everyone had finally calmed down, the Vault Hunters browsed the shelves and purchased several standard healing potions, making sure they were properly stocked before continuing their search for Deianira. As they reached the door, the dwarf suddenly cleared his throat. Excuse me. The Vault Hunters turned back. Would, by any chance, you have a little time to help me with something? He awkwardly brushed the long hair from in front of his purple eyes before it immediately fell back into place. I'm always busy keeping this place running and, well, he sighed. My hair is constantly in my face. He looked genuinely embarrassed. I've lost my only hair tie. He rubbed the back of his neck. I've no idea where it went, although I do remember having it when I stopped by the town chapel. Suidas smiled. We can do that. The dwarf's face brightened immediately. Oh, wonderful. As the Vault Hunters turned to leave once more, Suidas casually reached over to the counter and slipped one of the mysterious free sample vials into her pouch. She examined the swirling liquid inside before tucking it away. You never know, she said with a grin. It might come in handy later. Cliff immediately took 3 cautious steps away from her. I am not drinking anything you hand me ever again.